Namaskar, Jai Shri Krishna. Enlightening text 14, text 15 and text 16 of chapter 13. Dhritarashtra quits home of first canto creation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 14. Kanchita kala matha vatsita satakrito devavata sukham bhratura jeshtasya shreyaskrita sarvesham sukhma vahan. Thus Mahatma Vidur, being treated just like a godly person by his kinsmen, remained there for a certain period just to rectify the mentality of his eldest brother and in this way bring happiness to all the others. Saintly persons like Vidur must be treated as well as a denizen from heaven. In those days, denizens of heavenly planets used to visit homes like that of Maharaj Yudhishthir, and sometimes persons like Arjun and others used to visit higher planets. Narad is a spaceman who can travel unrestrictedly not only within the material universes but also in the spiritual universes. Even Narad used to visit the palace of Maharaj Yudhishthir, and what to speak of other celestial demigods. It is only the spiritual culture of the people concerned that makes interplanetary travel possible even in the present body. Maharaj Yudhishthir therefore received Vidur in the manner of reception offered to the demigods. Mahatma Vidur had already adopted the renounced order of life and therefore he did not return to his paternal palace to enjoy some material comforts. He accepted out of his own mercy what was offered to him by Maharaj Yudhishthir, but the purpose of living in the palace was to deliver his elder brother Dhritarashtra, who was too much materially attached. Dhritarashtra lost all his state and descendants in the fight with Maharaj Yudhishthir, and still, due to his sense of helplessness, he did not feel ashamed to accept the charity and hospitality of Maharaj Yudhishthir. On the part of Maharaj Yudhishthir, it was quite in order to maintain his uncle in a befitting manner, but acceptance of such magnanimous hospitality by Dhritarashtra was not at all desirable. He accepted it because he thought that there was no alternative. Vidur particularly came to enlighten Dhritarashtra and to give him a lift to the higher status of spiritual cognition. It is the duty of enlightened souls to deliver the fallen ones, and Vidur came for that reason. But talks of spiritual enlightenment are so refreshing that while instructing Dhritarashtra, Vidur attracted the attention of all the members of the family and all of them took pleasure in hearing him patiently. This is the way of spiritual realization. The message should be heard attentively, and if spoken by a realized soul, it will act on the dormant heart of the conditioned soul, and by continuously hearing, one can attain the perfect stage of self-realization. Text 15. Abhi Bhadaryama Dandam Yatha Vadagha Karishu Yavada Dhara Shudratvam Shapada Varsha Shatam Yamaha. As long as Vidur played the part of a Shudra being cursed by Manduk Muni, Aryama officiated at the post of Yamraj to punish those who committed sinful acts. Vidur, born in the womb of a Shudra woman, was forbidden even to be a party of royal heritage along with his brothers Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Then how could he occupy the post of a preacher to instruct such learned kings and Kshatriyas as Dhritarashtra and Maharaj Yudhishthir? The first answer is that even though it is accepted that he was a Shudra by birth, because he renounced the world for spiritual enlightenment by the authority of Rishi Maitreya and was thoroughly educated by him in transcendental knowledge, he was quite competent to occupy the post of an Acharya or spiritual preceptor. According to Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, anyone who is conversant in the transcendental knowledge of the science of God, be he a Brahman or a Shudra, a householder or a sannyasi, is eligible to become a spiritual master. Even in the ordinary moral codes maintained by Chanakya Pandit, the great politician and moralist, there is no harm in taking lessons from a person who may be by birth less than a Shudra. This is one part of the answer. The other is that Vidur was not actually a Shudra. He was to play the part of a so-called Shudra for 100 years being cursed by Manduk Muni. He was the incarnation of Yamraj, one of the 12 Mahajanas, on the level with such exalted personalities as Brahma, Narad, Shiv, Kapil, kill Bhishma, Prahlad, etc. Being a Mahajana, it is the duty of Yamaraj to preach the cult of devotion to the people of the world, as Narad, Brahma and other Mahajanas do. But Yamaraj is always busy in his plutonic kingdom punishing the doers of sinful acts. Yamaraj is deputed by the Lord to a particular planet, some hundreds of thousands of miles away from the planet of Earth, to take away corrupt souls after death and convict them in accordance with their respective sinful activities. Thus, Yamaraj has very little time to take leave from his responsible office of punishing the wrongdoers. There are more wrongdoers than righteous men. Therefore, Yamaraj has to do more work than other demigods who are also authorized agents of the Supreme Lord. But he wanted to preach the glories of the Lord, and therefore by the will of the Lord he was cursed by Mandukya Muni to come into the world in the incarnation of Vidur and work very hard as a great devotee. Such a devotee is neither a Shudra nor a Brahman. He is transcendental to such divisions of mundane society, just as the personality of Godhead assumes his incarnation as a hog, but he is neither a hog nor a Brahma. He is above all mundane creatures. The Lord and his different authorized devotees sometimes have to play the role of many lower creatures to claim the conditioned souls, but both the Lord and his pure devotees are always in the transcendental position. When Yamaraj thus incarnated himself as Vidur, his post was officiated by Aryama, one of the many sons of Kashyap and Aditi. The Adityas are sons of Aditi, and there are 12 Adityas. Aryama is one of the 12 Adityas, and therefore it was quite possible for him to take charge of the office of Yamaraj during his 100 years absence in the form of Vidur. The conclusion is that Vidur was never a Shudra, but was greater than the purest type of Brahman. Text 16. Yudhishthiro labdharajyo drushtava pautram kulandharam Bhratrubhira Lokapala Bhaira Mumude Paraya Shriya. Being won his kingdom and observed the birth of one grandson competent to continue the noble tradition of his family, Maharaj Yudhishthir reigned peacefully and enjoyed uncommon opulence in cooperation with his younger brothers, who were all expert administrators to the common people. Both Maharaj Yudhishthir and Arjun were unhappy from the beginning of the battle of Kurukshetra, but even though they were unwilling to kill their own men in the fight, it had to be done as a matter of duty, for it was planned by the supreme will of Lord Shri Krishna. After the battle, Maharaj Yudhishthir was unhappy over such mass killings. Practically, there was none to continue the Kuru dynasty after them, the Pandavas. The only remaining hope was the child in the womb of his daughter-in-law Uttara, and he was also attacked by Ashwathama, but by the grace of the Lord, the child was saved. So after the settlement of all disturbing conditions and re-establishment of the peaceful order of the state, and after seeing the surviving child Parikshit well satisfied, Maharaj Yudhishthir felt some relief as a human being, although he had very little attraction for material happiness, which is always illusory and temporary. Thank you.